Folks, welcome to an all new episode of So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Wednesday episode. You have once again made it halfway through the week. My God, I believe in us. You can get to the end of the week. We can do this together, potentially. I hope you're doing. Are you doing good? I ask you this every day, and I rarely get a response from you guys. But I hope you are doing good. And like I always say, it's okay to not be doing good. Listen, I go hours where I'm not good, and then hours where I'm good. I'll switch it up. I'm diverse in if I'm good or not in any given day. Are you guys similar at all? Anyways, I hope you are good, but if not, I hope today's episode brings you a little joy, makes you forget about your worries, whatever you need. I hope we can provide for you. Thursday, we'll be doing the Valley recap, but we'll also probably be doing a separate episode with the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives cast, which I recorded last week. And then Friday, Summer House. I watched the Summer House episode already this week. This Jesse Solomon, man, I truly believe that I think Jesse Solomon, I don't know, men can't really be witches. Are they sorcerers? I think this dude has some sort of sorcerer power where I am truly befuddled with how the other people think Jesse. Listen, I'm sure Jesse is a fun guy to hang out with and he's a fun guy to talk to, but in any terms of like any kind of relationship, you'll see in this week's episode. I can't wait for you guys to see tonight's episode to see if I am just crazy. I feel like I am seeing things and then I read other things that the cast members say about Jesse where it's completely different than how I feel. But like I always say, I think this man is perfect for reality television. He wants this so badly. He wants this so badly. And a lot of the cast members of the Valley, they want it badly too. But the Valley is more of a mess where Summer House, it's not easy breezy, but it's not too far off from easy breezy. But the Valley is just deep trauma. But at the same time, they want to be on television. Usually people with deep trauma, they do not run to tell you about their deep trauma. You have to pull it out of them with years of friendship or relationship, or you have to be a therapist that they are forced to talk to. But on the Valley, these people are monetizing deep trauma. This we'll talk about the Valley episode so on Thursday. So come back, you guys. Let's see. A little personal, not little. I mean, I'm going back to the dentist tomorrow. I got my follow up. It turns out I have they found some bone decay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you think Ryan Bailey and So Bad It's Good, you think bone decay. I guess there's been bone loss in one of my teeth to the left, and I'm just like, oh my God. But I'm going to Sheena Shea's dentist, so I think that it's pretty solid. Let's see what tomorrow runs me. And that's the thing. They tell you you have bone loss, and then you're like, well, I got to do this. I can't just turn away from bone loss. And I can hear my mom yelling at me, like, you can't skip this appointment. You've got to go. Do not ignore this. You've ignored it for far too long. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow. I'm on day 7 of my health journey, folks, and I had a beautiful dinner of peas and broccoli. And I am currently drinking a protein shake, a pea protein shake. Not even good protein, pea protein, folks. Day 7, I am more energetic, but I think I am the same amount of miserable that I usually am. So overall, that's a win-win. My body is very sore from working out with a personal trainer yesterday, but not too bad. This dude was so awesome. So I can't wait to see him again. I have to, he set me up with a whole program. I have to go to the gym tomorrow and I have to go to the gym Friday and do this program with like kettlebells and weights, and we'll see. Like, that's by myself at the gym, you guys. So I'm just gonna have my AirPods in, and if you listen to this show, you know when I've had experiences at public gyms in the past, I ain't there looking for conversation. People will tell me like, oh, this guy was trying to talk to me at the gym. I'm like, nobody should be talking to anybody at the gym. And no offense if that's you, but like, we're there to get a job done. We should not want to be there. We should not want, this is punishment for bad genetics and for potentially, and also the benefit of living longer. But you shouldn't be striking up conversations. put your AirPod in, listen to your podcast or your music, get your shit done. I feel like we should all go in there, and if we make eye contact, it should be like, I'm miserable. Are you miserable too? That's the eye contact that should be made and the message relayed between each other. That's just my opinion. Today we have half of the podcasting team that has the new podcast Blabbermouths from the Betches Network. I love Betches. Eleni Sabrakos is with us, and she also does a lot of the content creation and social media for Betches and all of their channels. And this is such a good conversation. You know, I've never met Eleni before this, and she was so funny, so sharp. I can see why she is where she's at. But it reminds me not of the old days of the pod, but I don't get to do these episodes that often where it's like a new creator or somebody with a newer podcast where we just get a jam about pop culture and what's trending. We did this last week. So the Pope had just got announced when we did this, but it's a wide ranging conversation from like content creation to pop culture to talking about her podcast Blabbermouths, which I strongly suggest you guys go subscribe to. It's only like, they only do like half-hour episodes every week, but it's really fun. Her and her partner do it, and I think it's a blast. So that's coming up. There's a timestamp if you want to skip right to that. But before then, I'm going to talk about a couple of pop culture stories in the news, and there's going to be like a hard left turn because we are going to have to talk about the first 2 days of the Diddy trial. But before then, we're going to talk about something way more fun, potentially potentially equally as disturbing, but that's not true. We're going to talk about Eurovision. Yeah. I talked about this on Monday's episode, saying to everybody Eurovision is airing right now, and that I have never fully committed to watching Eurovision. It's like me with Big Brother. I've never fully committed to it, but I did really good when I committed to Love Island, and that's paid off dividends. So I started watching the opening of Eurovision today because they are streaming it on Peacock during the day, and you can go back and watch the day's events. But this thing, Eurovision is like a fever dream. Eurovision is like if American Idol was on acid with way better special effects. It is something truly magical. And we're going to get into what Eurovision is and what was shown today. But I can see why people get very, very excited about this. But it's not for everybody, but it is very extreme. You can look at it just from the pure arts element of song creation and performance, but it also works on a couple of different levels because the sound design, the costuming, it is like the lighting on this thing. The cues of the lighting were so insane from what I watched today. It looked like a Beyonce concert, and it was truly amazing to watch. But it works on a comedic level as well, where it is so extreme, and half the time you don't even know what they're singing about. You do not speak that language because it is all of these countries competing for top song. They are competing for top song, folks. Okay, so once again, if you do not know what Eurovision is, it is a song contest. It's an annual international music competition organized by the European Broadcasting Union. It was established in 1956, and it features artists from participating countries performing original songs live on television with costumes, lighting, the whole thing. And the winners are determined through a combination of national jury and public votes. In fact, you could call in to vote for the winner, but it costs like 99 cents to vote. The contest has so many different musical styles. It's not just one musical style, but it is very elaborate in the performance. It's almost campy and tongue-in-cheek at times. And it's also launched the careers of artists like ABBA and Celine Dion. Yes, the one and only Celine Dion participated in Eurovision. So the host city is Basel, Switzerland, which, by the way, I was watching it today and I was like, we went to Switzerland? Rebecca once again said, no, we went to Sweden, you idiot. Like, I keep mixing up Switzerland and Sweden, and that's so offensive. I'm sure to multiple people, but I keep thinking I went to Switzerland and I went to Sweden to see Taylor Swift, and I keep thinking it's Switzerland because I'm an ugly American. So the dates, we had the semifinal one today, May 13th. The semifinal two is on May 15th, and the grand finale is May 17th. The slogan this year is United by Music, which I agree with this. And they have like three different hosts. Hazel, Sandra, and Michelle, and they host. They did a song. They did a song and dance number. They interview people on the street. It's a whole thing. So the highlights from today's ceremonies, they commenced with the traditional turquoise carpet. I'm not making this up. And it is the official start of Eurovision 2025 with the unrolling of the turquoise carpet. And this ceremony featured the longest turquoise carpet in the contest's history, and also included performances and appearances by all the participating artists. Now, you had 15 countries competing for 10 spots in the grand final for today. And so we had Iceland, and they opened the show with Roa, which was an electro pop sea shanty. We don't hear sea shanties do not get their due anymore in pop music. And then Sweden performed Bara Bada Bastu, which is a track that has become the most streamed song in the competition thus far. And then Ukraine presented Bird of Prey, but it's not Prey, it's Pray. And this showcased a blend of traditional and modern musical elements. And the interval act was titled Made in Switzerland, and it celebrated Swiss culture and history, featuring a performance by former Eurovision host Petra Mede as William Tell. And William Tell is a big guy in Switzerland history. But this thing, the Switzerland number alone was so amazing and bizarre, and it really summed up, I guess, everything that Switzerland is all about. Now, the qualifiers for the semifinal, these are the countries that qualified: Albania, Belgium, Estonia, Iceland, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, San Marino, Sweden, and Ukraine. Now, countries like Cyprus did not advance today, even though they did have a very strong performance. And that is where we're at so far with Eurovision 2025. But like I said, it's so cool that it's streaming on Peacock. I swear to God, this isn't a commercial. I talk about Peacock so much. But it's streaming on Peacock. So if you want to get into I think I'm going to do the 15th. I think I'm going to do the 17th. It really, it kind of blew me away in a bunch of different weird ways. And I always celebrate something new in pop culture that I'm not familiar with, but does have a dedicated fan base even here in the States. So Eurovision, catch the fever, baby. Oh, and on my hike today, I finished another book. And this one is a memoir by Tina Knowles, and that is Beyonce's mother. And it's called Matriarch. It just came out, I think, like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And this audiobook was 17 hours long. Now, I listened to everything at like 2.05 speed. But it still was a lot. But I was driving around a lot yesterday, so I just kept listening to it. And I love audiobooks, because especially if the person who wrote it narrates it. My favorite audiobook voice is David Sedaris. I just love his voice so much. And I love, last year I did a whole re-listening of his entire, everything that he's written thus far. And I always find something new in David Sedaris' work, but I always love his voice. And I have to say, I fell in love with this memoir because of Tina Knowles' voice, her speaking voice. And if you've ever seen Maya Rudolph portray Beyonce on Saturday Night Live, I was always like, because there's like a slight Texan, Houston kind of accent happening. And with Beyonce and her normal speaking voice, I don't really hear that as much anymore. But with Miss Knowles, with Tina, you really hear the Houston, the Texas. It is really great. But I will say you can see exactly why Beyonce turned out to be the person that she is today, which, by the way, her, 4 or 5 night stand in Los Angeles, they just announced it was sold out it turned out, it says it was sold out, but it grossed $55 million over 5 nights. The biggest gross for 5 nights in a row of any concert, $55 million. And I think the tour rolls up in Chicago this week, maybe tonight, actually. So I will have to watch on TikTok Live. I'll watch my TikTok Live to watch somebody's shaky record video of the Beyonce concert. I love this. That was my favorite part of last summer, was watching people stream the Taylor Swift Eras tour. I loved that. I was watching so many different cities of just night after night of watching the surprise songs. And Beyonce is going to switch everything up too. But I will say it's like 6 hours into the book before Beyonce is really even brought up. I mean, she's brought up in the intro and she does the introduction, but like, because Miss Knowles had a very big life, or she just feels very deeply. And I kind of was swept away in this book. I felt like I was her friend by the end, a friend that she will never meet. But I was, because I went into this audiobook. It's from the library. I didn't purchase it. So it was one of those like, yeah, let me put it on the list. And I didn't really expect much of it. In fact, I kind of guffawed that it was 17 hours. I was like, come on, what? If Beyonce was writing a book, yeah, let's make it like 35 hours or 48 hours like the Barbara Streisand autobiography. So 17 hours, I was like, what is she going to be talking about? But I have to say, I was riveted. Her romance and marriage to Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's father, which, he was a philanderer. He cheated on her multiple times. They would break up, get back together, break up, get back together. Her second marriage to an acting teacher, obviously pre-Destiny's Child, when Beyonce and Kelly and when they were forming, and the struggle of getting a record deal. And these kids were young. They were like 16, 17 years old. And just how much they had to do to make this work, on top of she owned a hair salon as well. And it's just it's wild to think of where they are today. In fact, like, she was talking about Beyonce's 40th birthday, where Jay-Z flew everybody to Italy and rented a private island. And it just seemed like this. I was just like, man, that is living large. But also talking about the media and the fact that we all have opinions, and that most of the time what we think of as fact are totally wrong, and it actually does hurt. It does cut deeply. And if you are trying to be if you're trying to trying not to let people know that it affects you, which Beyonce was like, Mom, you can't comment on that. If they were saying Blue Ivy was somebody else's kid, Mom, I get it. It's offensive. It's hurtful, but you can't comment on that. We've got to rise above. And I do think that has to be just such a weird position to be in, because so many people are so curious, but all the time, even from doing this show, I realize how much we get it wrong, and that it's so much more fun to believe the craziest story than it is sometimes to believe the truth. And I'm not saying that sometimes these things aren't completely crazy and these stories aren't completely salacious and insane. In fact, we're about to talk about Diddy, but I am saying that I feel like we do get it wrong most of the time, and we never go back to course correct or say, whoa, man, if that was wrong, I wonder what else is wrong I'm talking about. So if you're into it, the Matriarch book, I really enjoyed listening to it. Please, if anybody knows Tina Knowles, get this message to Miss Tina Beyonce. Please get this message. Oh, and I did a segment about BravoCon yesterday, and I did a TikTok about it as well. I think I posted that on Instagram, just about like the pricing and all of this stuff. And a lot of people are very upset at the pricing. It is very expensive. Now, I went back and checked what the prices were for BravoCon 2023, and the prices were $550 for general admission and $1,200 for the VIP. And so we are looking at an increase for both of those. So $550, they raised the general admission like $122, and they raised the VIP, it looks like $215 or $220. So that's in 2 years' time, they raised those prices. And what I got to say, I'm going to blame tariffs. I will blame the tariffs. I'll blame everything on tariffs and the algorithm. But yeah, that is a price increase from 2 years ago. And it takes a lot of money to put these events on. I don't think this is as big of a moneymaker as people think it might be, or a cash grab. I think this is something that, they do these and they turn out really well and they get a lot of press. It is a lot of free advertising for all of these shows and NBC Universal as a company in general. Now, a content creator on TikTok we were going back and forth today, and she had made a video saying, well, why can't we just pay to meet you? Like, not, well, I mean, they use me as an example, but other content creators as well, like other podcasters, like Kempire or Taria Faison, or, like all of the great content creators out there. Like, and first, I said, listen, I think anybody could meet us. I mean, in fact, it gave me an idea. Like, we should all just have a big old content creator, not a convention, but somewhere where everybody can like meet and talk with each other for free. Like, I don't think it should be a cash grab for anybody that is in content creation, because I think a lot of us do it just for the joy of it. Yes, there is money involved, but I mean, I never do any of this looking at the financials, and I will say, to my detriment, I will not do that. But I'm just happy to be part of the conversation. And by the way, that's why I love BravoCon. It's not because of the Bravo celebrities. It's because of all like the people like me. And I don't mean me as a content creator, but me as just somebody that loves these shows. You get to talk to all new people that love these shows. You get to meet people from different countries, different states. All of that to me is so exciting. But yeah, like, I mean, I feel like we should just throw a big content creator con, but do it where it's just free, where it's just like, let's just shut down a bar and get as many people as we can in there and make it a great night, and have Bravo playing, without the sound on in the background. I'm imagining screens at this, and just play all Bravo celebrities music. We'll have Sheena Shea, we'll have Erica Jane, we'll have Ashley Darby singing that coffee song that she made years and years ago. Whew! Did you see Ashley Darby, by the way? She has like a jazz, like she's part of a jazz quartet. And she was singing Roberta Flack's Killing Me Softly, which, of course, Lauryn Hill covered with the Fugees. And it was, it was very off key at times. And she does have a decent voice, but it was off key. And it felt very bad because somebody posted it on TikTok and people just went in on her. But we'll play Ashley Darby music, which also, are you enjoying Love Hotel? I watched the 3rd episode today. And Shannon Bedore was not celebrating, but letting people know, that it was the anniversary of her car accident where she drove the car into the house after that Johnny J. And she was telling everybody there and she was showing everybody the bloody photo. Could you imagine being that comfortable? And I know Shannon's not a comfortable person by nature, but just like, take a look at this. And it's just blood, which, by the way, if you listen to this, even in my recaps, I will say, even for the blood dripping down her face, that's a very good photo. Like, I'm not like, I remember saying this at the time. I was like, she still looks pretty good. Even with the blood, if you can get past the blood, it's still a very solid photo. Like, I don't know if I'd like lead with it on a dating app, but it is go back and look at that photo. I know I sound insane, but it really, like, she looked good. I feel horrible for saying that. So anyways, that was a quick rant about BravoCon. I think I'm just stalling because I don't want to talk about the Diddy trial. Also, remember, go back and listen to yesterday's episode with Crystal Minkoff and Cynthia Bailey from Humble Rag Podcast, and obviously from Beverly Hills in Atlanta. I just thought this was a really fun conversation, and it's rare for me to be that relaxed. And we got to do it in person, so I think that brings a different vibe. But I just thought it was great, and they treated me like an equal, which is something that they didn't have to do. They have been so kind to me. But I thought that was a really good conversation. So if you liked it, and you listened to it and you liked it, let them know. Because I want them to know the power of So Bad It's Good and the baddies. And yes, I say the baddies tongue in cheek, which, by the way, I'm doing my Q&A Patreon episode tomorrow. So it is your last day to get in questions. I've gotten a lot of good ones thus far, but I'm really happy with that episode. Okay, I've been stalling long enough. Let's get into the misery of Sean Diddy Combs. We've had 2 days of this trial. The jury was finally selected at the end of last week. And day one was in a federal court in Manhattan. The charges are racketeering, sex trafficking, coercion, and unlawful surveillance. Now, the opening statements, prosecutor Amanda Klein, I do not have a full transcript of this. In fact, if you guys know where I can get a full transcript, I was online today in the judicial system database. What is it called? Pacer. And I couldn't get it. And I was willing to pay because it's like 10 cents a page because I wanted to get Cassie's full transcripts. And I was going to just do a whole episode of just reading her transcripts out loud. But let me know if you guys know a way to get this, but I couldn't find it. So these are all paraphrased, and there is so much more information than I'm going to give you right now, but it's pretty harrowing. So big trigger warning here. The prosecutor opened with, for over 2 decades, Mr. Combs used his fame, his fortune, and his fear to control women. This is not a case about consensual sex. This is about power, manipulation, and trafficking. She talked about the concept that we now are very familiar with are the freak-offs, which are the drug-fueled encounters that involved escorts where women were allegedly coerced into group sex while under surveillance. And remember, Diddy, when they did the raid, there was also, I mean, it's, this is not, but there was like 600 bottles of baby oil. In fact, Cassie in her testimony was like, the first time we did this, it was just so much baby oil. Like the dude has a fixation with baby oil. And I have to tell you, I don't even know the last time I've been around a bottle of baby oil. I don't even think that's information you need to know. I bet you weren't at home going, I wonder what Ryan's relationship with baby oil is. So we have surveillance video evidence. The jury, by the way, this jury, I've thought about this over the weekend. I would never want, I joke about wanting to be a juror in these entertainment cases, but this one in particular, I would not, because I believe the record has shown, if you go back of all of the instances in Sean Diddy Combs' life where the legal system has been involved, there has been, manipulation. There has been payoffs. There has been, there's so many documentaries out there that have given evidence that he has paid people off, that he has threatened people. And I would be so scared to be on this jury. And I would not even feel relief after the verdict is in. I would watch my back my entire life if I was on a jury like this, because these people, criminals seem like at this level, when there's like a mafia vibe to it, that they seem like they never forget. It's like seem like they watch The Godfather on a loop and they will never forget, and they will come back at you at a certain point. And it's very John Gotti to me. So the surveillance was shown, the 2016 surveillance clip from the Intercontinental Hotel, which showed Combs chasing Cassie, his girlfriend at the time, down a hallway, grabbing her by the hair and slamming her to the floor. The courtroom gasped audibly when this was played, which that is something that I gasped. I think we all did when CNN first released it. Now, the witnesses on the first day, we had Daniel Phillip, who was a male escort, and he testified that he was hired for several freak-offs and he was paid $5,000 in cash. He described Combs as aggressive, controlling, and often recording everything. And a lot of Combs' MO was that he would almost wear like kind of a hood where, you could see his eyes, or he'd have sunglasses on, but he would just be a figure watching the men do things to Cassie and the women, and he would be pleasuring himself. And then sometimes he would like shout out instructions, very dark stuff. He claimed this Daniel Phillip claimed Cassie rarely spoke unless spoken to and was visibly high during encounters. So that's the other thing too, is that they're saying that Combs pushed ecstasy and other drugs onto Cassie and other women. He said she looked dazed, like she was there, but not really. Then we had witness 2, Israel Flores, who is a hotel security guard. This was I believe at the hotel incident, found Cassie bruised and shaken after the hallway assault, like she had been beaten, and claimed Diddy offered him a Rolex and $10,000 in a cash to not report the incident. He said, Israel said that Diddy said, you don't want to ruin your career over this, just let it go. Now, the defense's opening, we had attorney Matthew Brack offering the pivot with saying, yes, Sean Combs has lived a wild, sexual, unconventional lifestyle. That is not illegal. These were consenting adults. The only thing Mr. Combs is guilty of is not being discreet. And he dismissed the freak-offs and labeling them as like salacious branding for consensual adult behavior. Now, this is very deviant behavior. But if there are agreeing parties, if people are of sound mind, you know, who is to police those things? But what the government is, or the Southern District is trying to prove, that this is racketeering, that this was an operation, that people were paid off, that people were taken across state lines to do these things, that people were plied with drugs and alcohol against their will. In Cassie's testimony, which we're going to get into some details in a second, I mean, the freak offs would last at most 4 days. Imagine being kept up for 4 days, having to have sex with multiple male escorts. And the Cassie thing is so tragic because he met her at such a young age and they were not romantically involved at first. He was Sean Diddy Combs, somebody that can make or break a music career. And he took interest in Cassie as a musical artist. She was signed to a 10-album deal and only released one album, even though they had recorded hundreds of songs, but he would never release them. So imagine then having this person, it was her birthday party, he kissed her for the first time. Now, he was with his wife at the time, not in the club, but his wife, who has since passed away under very odd circumstances. I think you guys know that story. But she was like, I had never had somebody do that to me that was like my boss at the same time. And he kind of wined and dined her and romanced her and then was in control of every aspect of her career and then every aspect of her life. So day 2 was the Cassandra Cassie Ventura testimony. It took nearly 4 hours and she described their 11-year relationship. I don't think people realize it lasted that long. She said it began with glamour and ended in fear and coercion. And Cassie at this point is pregnant. She's in a loving relationship. She's talked about this before. So these are some of the quotes. She said, I wasn't allowed to leave the house without his approval. He tracked my phone, my credit cards, my body. Another comment, he said, he hit me so many times I lost count. One night in 2015, I had to get stitches. I told people I fell. On the freak offs, he'd say he'd line up the escorts. I had to be involved or he'd scream and smash things. He'd film it. I never consented to that. Now, they did a ruling today, or they're going to rule on this. If the freak off videos can be shown in court, they're going to be shown to the jury. But they're wondering if this should be a closed set where the public, because you can go in and get a ticket or put yourself in a lottery to be in that courtroom, is that will the public be able to be there that day that the freak off videos are shown? And a lot of people are saying that they should, even though I don't think they should. I think the jury should be able to see it, and that's it. And the other thing is Sean Combs is, I believe he has 3 daughters and 2 sons, right? They were there in the courtroom, unified front. The first day they were there, and then some of the abuse and sexual stuff happened, and some of the daughters left the courtroom. And they were back again today. And this is speculative. Of course, they love their father, but also it shows to the jury that this is a sympathetic man. He is a family man. Look at this beautiful family that he has, that he is being taken away from. It's all about painting a picture, right? She testified that when she tried to leave in 2018, he allegedly threatened to ruin her family and bury her career. But in some ways, he had already buried her career throughout the course of their relationship with not releasing the albums, right? Now, the cross-examination, the defense attorney does what a defense attorney does and tried to discredit her and asked about her continued relationship with Combs after these incidents and brought up text messages showing affectionate language. And she said, listen, she's like, I was trauma bonded. You can't just walk away from someone like that. Not when he's watching everything you do. And I mean, think about how like your own relationships or relationships that have not been right and you've known it, but you've stayed. I think this is so common. This is not something that is hard to understand. And especially when you're not trying to rock the boat. You're just trying to not have this person upset at you. And I know a lot of people, I think Stassi said something really offensive years and years and years and years ago, where she didn't understand how somebody could be forced to give oral sex because she was like, I would freak out on the person. And I'm like, it's a very naive, hurtful statement because these things do happen. These things are forced. Like you don't know until you're in this situation. So it's very intense obviously all of this to talk about. I mean, she talked about he got her a place, a high rise apartment on the Wilshire corridor in Los Angeles, and he was just a couple blocks away. And he would drive over on a golf cart, but at times he would take her computer, her phone, and she would have to go to his house to get them back. He had his staff take all of her electronics. It just depended on how if she obeyed or not. In fact, if he didn't like a look on her face, he'd hit her. If she smirked, he'd hit her. And it just got more intense and more intense. And there was this one detail that was saying that the male escort had finished his business on Cassie's skin, and then Diddy took her in another room and laid with her and made her rub that dude's stuff on his nipples. A very weird detail that I'm sure was. I mean, just imagine this: Cassie having to have everybody know this will go on the public record, and it's probably this is very traumatic on top of trauma already for Cassie. So tomorrow we will have day 3 of the trial. Now, since this is racketeering RICO charges, is that even people hearing today's testimony, and it is only day 2, so people shouldn't rush to judgment, is that they're saying we see a horrible person here who abused a woman, but we are not necessarily seeing the state's case about proving RICO charges and racketeering. But that's going to be coming. Like, you can't just judge this by 2 days. Yes, they are trying to paint a picture of the manipulation of this man, and a very brave person, Cassie, was able to speak to this, and they're going to have other witnesses as well. But I do believe that some of these witnesses have probably already been contacted by Diddy in some way. Also, they say Diddy's look, he is almost full gray in the front of his hair. They're allowing him to change into outfits from his prison wear. And that he was very happy to see his family, and they exchanged like heart emojis and things of that nature. So that's day 2. We'll keep you updated. I'll try to do these in spurts so I don't bum you out every day. But let's get to laughing. Yeah, remember laughter? Let's get to that.